and welcome back to the strangest gig I've ever played. True tales from the studio and the stage. The podcast where we hear all the weird, wild, wacky, terrible, and or amazing gigs we have to take in order to make it as freelance and gigging musicians. On the podcast with us this week is longtime LA studio musician and singer Jeff Pescetto, the voice of some of your favorite childhood cartoon theme songs. So let's get started. Welcome back. I know it's been a minute since our last episode, and there's a very good reason for that. That's because I just put out a new album. That album is called I Am Not Cool. It came out August 20th on State Fair Records. I'm very proud of it. We had an amazing release show, double album release show at the Kessler Theater with my good buddy Billy Law, who also had an album come out that day. And it was a lot of fun. We got to share the stage with one of my musical heroes, Ken Bethea, who came up and played Nightclub with us, the old 97 song. Ken, obviously the guitar player for the old 97s. I hope you'll go and check out my album. Again, it's I Am Not Cool. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music. You can even buy it on vinyl. You go to statefairrecords.com and look for the shop. We have a few shows coming up in October in Fort Worth, Denton, and Dallas. A little mini DFW tour, which we're excited about. We'll also be playing at the State Fair Records and Torres Music Group Day Party at Americana Fest this year, which we're super excited about. As always, you can go to chrisjnorwood.com to find out more details about any of this. I hope you'll come see us at one of our shows. I hope you'll check out the album and see what we got going on. On the podcast with us this week, as I mentioned, is LA session musician and producer Jeff Pescetto. I got connected to Jeff through my good friend Nick Seeley, who was our guest on last episode of the Strangest Gig podcast. And I had a really great conversation getting to talk to Jeff and hearing about his career. Jeff is the singer, as I mentioned, on some of your favorite childhood cartoon themes. DuckTales, woo! Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck. All these iconic songs from the early 90s. Jeff was the singer on those tunes. Jeff has also worked with music industry luminaries like Quincy Jones, David Foster, Smokey Robinson, Phil Spector, along with many, many more. Jeff had so many great stories, and I really enjoyed getting to talk with him. He joins us via telephone, so you may hear him drop in and out of as the cell reception dropped in and out. So I hope you won't let that distract you from these great stories. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Here's Jeff Pescetto. So first off, Jeff, welcome to the Strangest Gig podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure, man. My pleasure, Chris.
I'm really excited when Nick asked me if I'd be interested in having you on the podcast. I said, absolutely. Just being that you're the songs that you sang on were kind of a big part of my childhood. And I'm sure you get that a lot.
I get that from, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Yeah, so from 34 to like 39, and then from that age group, I have a daughter that's 31.
Okay.
And she grew up on it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's I didn't realize doing it was going to become worldwide.
Yeah, we'll get into more details about kind of for those that don't know what we're talking about. So first off, tell me about your current gig, what you're doing currently.
I've been songwriting for the last 35 years, so I still write songs.
Okay, great.
I've been with 7 different publishers over the years.
Wow, yeah.
Catalog around, different publishers. But right now, I'm 66, so I'm kind of retired.
Yeah, that's great.
But I can't stop doing music, so I constantly still write.
Yeah.
But I produce other people who want to demo their songs. I'm kind of a one-man band because I play guitar, keyboards, drums, bass, and sing. So I can kind of give them a demo of their song that sounds like a record, So
that's perfect.
A lot of that.
Do you have your own studio at your house there?
I do.
Right there. Yeah. Yeah, that looks great.
So yeah, I've kind of set up my living room as my studio and my living room.
That's fantastic.
And I sing a lot for people because I've been singing my whole life. And so everywhere from commercials, jingles, I sing backgrounds on a lot of records.
Yeah.
I sing like this guy in Hawaii just called me. And he's a singer, but yet I did one of his songs that I co-wrote, and he asked me to sing every song on his album. I said, well, this is your album. And he goes, yeah, but I want you to sing all the songs. So, okay.
Yeah, why not?
At this point in my life, I'm like, okay, whatever. Is it get paid? I'm good. I don't do it for the money, but I have to get it.
Yeah, you still got bills to pay.
It's kind of easy. I stay at home and I can record the vocals and email the files to people.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way of the world, especially now because of COVID, but even, just it was kind of headed that way in general. But I imagine, it wasn't always like that for you. You do a lot of headed into the studios.
Yeah, I did. I used to go to their house to demo the song or their studio.
Yeah.
Or wherever they recorded the song. I did a lot of that. I used to sing all Diane Warren demos.
Wow.
So I did that for years, and she was fun. It took a couple hours. She paid me really well. We had fun doing it.
That's great.
Her songs get cut. So I would hear, sometimes they'd use my backgrounds on the records.
Oh, wow.
Maxie Priest did.
Wow.
And David Foster would produce a lot of Diane songs, and he would call me and say, hey, we're using these backgrounds for Monica's record or Celine Dion or whatever, So I would be like, great. And he goes, can you come down to the studio? I'll fix a few things, but we're mainly going to use the 10 tracks that you did.
Yeah.
And we're going to do them. So that was nice.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that. But, more interesting was producing records. I love to produce records.
Right.
And I had a lot of opportunities to produce records back in the day. I say back in the day because, I'm still producing, but
sure,
I'm not mainstream pop world anymore. I think I've outgrown it,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I have too.
It's a hard market. And plus, I'd go play songs to A&R people that were like 19, and I'm going like, wow.
So, and then now, like, I want you to, if you could just tell me about, for those that don't know, you're the singer on the Chippendales Rescue Rangers theme and the DuckTales theme, right?
Yes.
So tell me about just how that came about. Were you, did you know the songwriter Mark, or?
Yeah, the songwriter Mark and I used to co-write all the time. We've had a couple cuts. We had an Al Jarreau semi-hit.
Okay.
Together. We had, we had written a song for Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
Quincy called me when I was signed to Quincy and said, come to the studio. Michael's recording your song tonight.
Oh, what was that like?
Well, it's unbelievable. When I got there, Michael came out and met with me, and he said, I have good news and bad news. Give me the bad news first. And he said, well, the bad news is I just cut a song called Man in the Mirror.
Oh, no.
Even though it doesn't sound like it, it looks like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, well, they're both message songs. My song was about don't abuse children.
Yeah.
Love them. And It was called Spare the Rod, Love the Child.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool song.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but he had just cut Man in the Mirror, and he didn't want 2 message songs on his album.
That's funny.
So that was disappointing. But the good news that Jermaine, his brother, was going to cut the song.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's not as good as you cutting it.
It's still a Jackson.
It was a Jackson. It sold 1 million records.
Wow.
But Michael sold like 40 million.
Right. Yeah. So what year would that have been?
Whenever Bad came out, that was the record.
Okay.
So, guess 90 something. So I was extremely disappointed, obviously, but those things have happened my whole career, stuff like that.
Yeah, the near misses.
We're so close,
Yeah. And then, so did you say you were signed to Quincy's label, or Quincy Jones?
At California, I was playing in local bands in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
That's where. And Quincy, through a bunch of circumstances, got to hear material that I wrote and really liked it. So he asked me if I'd move to LA. I said, yeah, I'd love to.
That's great.
And so in 1984, and I moved to LA because the first year I actually stayed in Maryland and just sent songs to them.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to move here.
Yeah.
And I moved me and I'm out here. So he said, got it. So he moved me to LA and, he hooked me up with so many people. Amazing.
That's incredible.
You call somebody, they listen.
Yeah, exactly. He shows up on your speed dial.
Especially back then.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah. So then was Quincy your connection with Mark?
Well, Mark was signed to MCA and we just, connected on, we got along great. And then Mark called me one day and said, hey, would you mind singing this Disney cartoon? I think you'd be great to sing it. It's just the demo.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I sang DuckTales, and then Disney, he told me he got it. Disney used his song, and they tried a bunch of acts on the record, on the actual version that they were going to use. And for some reason, they just couldn't get past the demo. They loved the demo so much.
That's great.
They hired, it wasn't working for them. So they called and said, listen, we just love your demo of the song.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that you did the demo, but we want to hire you to do the real thing.
Wow.
So I went in the studio and they had this guy, Greg Karukas, was a friend of mine, a keyboard player. He's actually a pretty famous jazz keyboard player, great guy.
Right.
He did all the music and he did the demo too, but they hired him to do the record.
Yeah.
I think, the actual version that's going to be used for the theme.
Sure.
And so we went down, and then later on, I found out it was going to be on every day on network television. Back then, the cable wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was on network, so that meant huge bucks.
Oh, absolutely.
So I tell you, I went to my mailbox for like 10 years, and it was just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy.
Do you still see residuals from that?
I do, but Disney has a contract, the longer it goes, the less money you make.
Gotcha.
That's how they work. But I still get a couple $100 a check,
Yeah.
I used to get like 16,000 every 13 weeks.
That's crazy, yeah.
It's crazy. And I was like, to Mark, I'm like, man, cartoon important hit records.
Yeah, seeing those residuals come in for network shows, that's huge.
Yeah, something I did a half hour, I did it one time and it's every day.
Yeah.
So it was my house and it was pretty cool. And then Mark did another one. He said, I wrote another one. Would you sing the demo? And I said, yeah.
Sure.
So he ended up getting that one too. And again, they said, we might as well use you because we love DuckTales.
And that was the Chippendales one for the next one. Yeah.
And right after DuckTales, it was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, I hit 2 in a row.
Mark and I wrote together a lot, and we would say we should dress as ducks and travel the world, because we'd probably be famous.
Oh, yeah. Y'all would have made a killing.
We laughed about it, but we probably should have done it.
That's funny. So on the original DuckTales one, was Mark up against any other songs or any other acts?
They used to call that a cattle call.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure there were hundreds of things written, and Mark just nailed it. I thought his cartoon was great.
Oh, it's iconic.
Mark's a great writer. Besides writing cartoon themes, he's a great writer.
Yeah.
He had hits with Heart, and like I said, we had a hit with Al Jarreau, and we've got tons of cuts over the years, and so, but his claim to fame is DuckTales too.
Yeah.
He scored big time with both of those, and he's, if you wrote the song, I'm sure he's still making more than I make from singing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Was that a union thing? Did you get? I mean, I'm sure everything back then was union.
Yeah, it was union. In fact, I'm not sure if that's how I joined SAG, because to join SAG, you have to have done something on television.
Right.
And if you haven't, they do this Taft-Hartley thing, where you get to do it once, and then the next time you do any television work, you have to join SAG.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like $800. I think it's like $3,000 to join now.
Oh wow.
But yeah, and so it got me in SAG, and now I get a pension from SAG from all the work I've done.
That's great.
But yeah, I think that was my first SAG gig.
Yeah. So did those lead to any other TV themes, or was that?
I did more themes. I actually did all the music for Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders. And I didn't sing them because it was a girls' show. I wanted a girl singer, so I hired a friend of mine to sing all the songs. And I did the theme. It was like Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders.
Yeah.
But that was cool because I got to produce all the songs, and that wasn't network television by then. It was cable.
Right.
But yeah, I actually forget because I've done singing sessions and stuff on records and cartoons and commercials. So I didn't solicit it, but I'm sure from DuckTales I got some work. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And then it just kind of kept going, and just the gigs come in and you do them, and then you don't know whether they're going to catch on or not. Yeah,
I have no clue. It's like I don't know if you ever heard Beekman's World.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I did.
They called me and said, "Can you write a song about magnetism?" And, yeah, sure. Did kind of a Princey kind of song.
Yeah.
Because Prince was popular then. And I said, okay, I'll do something like that. And then they said, well, we want you to perform it on the show. And I'm thinking, what am I going to be? They said, we're going to dress you like a magnet. But when I got there, that whole idea did not happen. And it was just perform the song.
Yeah.
And I'm going well, I wouldn't perform a song called Magnetism, but I'm like, why not?
Sure.
So they filmed all these radios and magnets going by me, and I just played guitar and sang.
Yeah.
And that paid really well because it was constantly running.
Right. So that was the show with the guy dressed up as a giant mouse and
and the girl.
Yeah, and Beekman was the mad scientist kind of guy. Yeah. But
they would talk about snot. Why do we have snot and stuff? And why is there hair in our ears? And it was cool though. I liked that show.
Yeah, man, I loved it growing up. That was another staple of my youth. Now, tell me about the strangest gig you've ever played or strangest studio session you've ever done. I'm sure living in LA, there was, there's no shortage of strange last minute or.
The funniest I thought, and this is when I, had been singing in studio gigs, and I got a call to sing for a Jack Klugman, Tony Randall reboot of The Odd Couple.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I'm like, cool, yeah. So I got to the studio, and they said, well, the irony of the story is Jack Klugman had cancer of the throat.
Oh no.
He wanted to get back into radio because he was like a radio announcer.
Right.
The Odd Couple. And Tony Randall got him a new commercial. Mm-hmm. The commercial was a toilet bowl cleaner. So obviously Jack Klugman was like, oh, you booked me for a toilet bowl commercial. But they needed somebody to sing the commercial.
Yeah.
So I came into the studio, and they weren't there. I didn't meet the Odd Couple or anything, but the producers were there.
Yeah,
they said, we just need you to sing, just pour it in and flush. I went out to the studio, and they said, give it a lot of, oomph and raspiness. And I literally just went, just pour it in and flush. And it just went, that's perfect.
That's it.
So they said, well, do better than that? I go, I'll sing it a couple times. I sang it 2 more times, and they went, nah, the first time was the one.
You nailed it.
And they said, do we get a discount for you singing it so fast? And I said, no, I should get paid extra for saving you studio time. And we were joking and laughing, but oh my God, I made I have to say $3,000.
Wow.
To sing that one line.
Yeah.
And then from being on TV, the movie was shown on television. So I got paid, and I went, oh my God, I'm doing the wrong thing. I should be singing commercials, because there's money in it. Singers actually get paid pretty good when they do television work. Much more than the musicians make.
Yeah.
And I'm a musician too. I'm a guitar player.
Sure.
I thought, man, singing is the way to go. But I did a couple demos that it was weird, where I would sing a demo and I'd sing the whole thing down, and the person would listen and they say, oh, that's great. But we wanted you to sound like Smokey Robinson.
Okay.
And I said,
sure.
well, you didn't tell me that when you started. And I got to tell you, I produced Smokey Robinson, and on his album, out of 10 songs, I sang the demo for 7 of them.
Oh, wow.
And he doesn't want to hear an imitation of himself.
Yeah.
He wants to just take the song and make it his own.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hear a singer sing like Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we'd really like you to try to sound like Smokey Robinson. So after 3 hours, and this person was a famous songwriter, I don't even have to mention their name, but I just went, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me enough money to stay here any longer.
Oh, wow. And you just walked out.
I walked out and said, you know what, you don't even have to pay me. I'm done.
You're just over it.
But that was one of the worst sessions where I walked out, and I was looking forward to meeting the writer because she had many hits.
Yeah.
But I just went, you know what, this is not worth it. My time and this abuse is not worth it.
Did anything happen after that? Did you catch any blowback or?
No, I never heard from her or never heard anything,
That's crazy.
I people the story, and they would say, oh yeah, she's kind of an asshole.
Okay.
And you meet people in this business, I've met famous people.
Yeah.
Not so famous people. They're kind of famous, and sometimes they act so entitled and like they're more famous than they are.
Sure.
And you work with really famous people, and they're the nicest people in the whole world.
Yeah.
So,
what was it like working with Smokey?
Smokey was great. Yeah. I produced a song on him. It's kind of funny because I was producing it with Iris Gordy.
Okay. Yeah.
Started Motown.
Mm-hmm.
Iris was the sister of Barry Gordy, and I think Smokey married one of the Gordys too.
Right.
And anyway, so Iris and I were producing the song, and she kept saying to Smokey, "Sing it like Jeff." Please stop saying that. It's Smokey Robinson.
One of the most iconic voices ever.
I'm going I don't want to hear "Sing it like me." No, I'm telling him to phrase it because you're singing it, but he's not singing it like you. And please don't say that again. You're just you have to, as a producer, you have to be kind of a psychiatrist in a way,
Yeah, especially with singers.
Feelings, you want to pump them up, make them feel really good when they're in the studio. So I kept saying to Smokey, hey man, that was great. Let's just try it again, And, we got along great.
Where did y'all record that? In LA?
Yeah, that was, I know we went to the record plant sometimes, but Ocean Way, I recorded there.
Wow.
Got so many studios out here.
Oh, yeah.
Names of them. But yeah, that was, I met Smokey a lot because he cut my first song that I ever had cut.
Wow.
And, that song has been cut 7 times, but he was the first one to do it.
What song?
It was called Just Like You.
Just Like You, yeah.
When I met him, it was in Baltimore for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And he wouldn't have remembered that.
Right.
Then when I was producing him, I said, you cut a song of mine years ago, and it's called Just Like You. And he's like, oh my gosh,
That's funny.
song. And so it's kind of funny how things, would happen, and I'd end up producing on a record. It's crazy. Plus, I sang on Remember to See Her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had backgrounds on that.
Wow.
So I meet some of these guys, and I met them when they cut my song, and they didn't remember, but then I'd end up in the studio with them again.
Yeah, and you'd get to kind of introduce yourself that way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they didn't have phones with cameras back then.
Yeah.
So I have no record of any of this, but it all happened,
So I know you said you're kind of, semi-retired now, and so this may take a little bit of thought, but what would you say your dream gig is, or maybe was? Maybe you did it already.
I think if I could get a gig on like The Tonight Show as a guitar player and singer, that would be the ultimate gig.
Yeah, that was always like guitar player in the SNL band. That was always my dream gig as well.
Yeah, that's a great gig. That would have been a great gig too. Any of those, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, even the later than that to do Seth Meyers or Gordon, any of those shows, to be the musical guy in one of those bands. There's a guy on Jimmy Kimmel that went to school with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I produced his record. His name's Cleto Escobedo.
Yeah.
The sax player. Him and his dad do the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Wow.
And he's talked about it. It's like the dream gig because, here he was trying to make it as a singer sax player, which is hard.
Sure.
He had a deal on Virgin. The record didn't do all that great. We got a couple cuts in movies and stuff, but we remained friends. I don't see him that often, but, he told me what a gig. He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's really cool of Jimmy Kimmel to hire his friend,
He always does, yeah.
From high school. He seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, like a gig like that, even now, I wouldn't mind a gig like that.
Sure. That's what I always said.
Steady money and get to play music.
Yeah, and different music every night.
Absolutely.
I grew up watching, the SNL when it was the G.E. Smith days, and just watching that band, every week. It's just, man, just look at just killer players. I always thought that'd be a blast.
Yeah, I like that band. And I used to be on those shows, and one time I was on with Donny Osmond.
Yeah.
And we were doing the Tonight Show. I think it was Jay Leno, and so we performed, and they came up to me, and they said, "Are you available tomorrow night? Because Al Green needs background singer."
Oh wow!
And it was a black girl, Sue Ann Carwell, and another. And so we did the backgrounds for Donny Osmond. We sat on stools. And so the next night we were on again.
Yeah. With
Al Green.
Wow.
And people from Baltimore thought I was on the Tonight Show every night.
That was just your regular gig, they thought?
You made it. I'm going like, no, I've got $500. You don't understand. It's a fun gig, but it's all it is.
Yeah. It's a cool story.
It was kind of funny because Jay Leno comes up to me because he noticed that I was there 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
He says, "Are you after my gig?" I said, no. He was kind of funny. He's a nice guy too.
That is funny. So for the Al Green thing, did y'all get to rehearse it at all, or?
Just, they did it one time during rehearsal. You rehearse about 4:00.
Yeah.
Live show. And it's funny because during rehearsal, Al Green's like, take it, and I'm like, let's stay together. And I'm going, man, if he does that tonight, that'll be great.
Yeah.
At night, he went into the audience.
Oh,
so
fun.
We were laughing because we weren't even on camera.
Yeah.
And kind of goofing off as he went to the audience. And, you're just goofing off because you're singing the backgrounds.
Yeah.
And we're dancing. And for some stupid reason, I did a Saturday Night Fever move. I go like this.
Yeah.
When the camera came on us. And so my friend was like, why are you dancing like John Travolta? Like, I was like, been off because during rehearsal he let us sing, and at night he went into the audience. So I didn't know they were going to put the camera on at that moment.
Wow.
So it's like, what are you doing? Like, it was funny. I mean, nobody cared.
Yeah, just having fun.
I just look stupid. All of a sudden they go to the backgrounds and I'm like doing this.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? So it was funny.
So y'all did Let's Stay Together? That was the song you did?
We did 2 songs, Let's Stay Together, and it was his other big hit. Oh, man. It wasn't Love and Happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Those 2.
Those are great.
Yeah, and he's such a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I worked with Al Green.
Uh-huh.
Hear his records, and he sings so soft.
Right.
Like, I'm so in love with you. You know, but then you hear him live, he's belting those notes.
Wow.
And he's fantastic. Like, he's a really great singer.
Yeah, man.
And really impressed. I liked him anyway, but then when you get to work with him, you're like, wow, he's great.
Yeah, he's the best. So, the last question I always like to ask is, what is one thing that you have to take with you to every gig?
I would say the best thing to bring is a positive attitude.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's great.
Walk in, smile, and, you know, there's no equipment that I bring or anything.
Yeah, walk in and have fun.
Walk in, make it fun, make them feel like I'm really having a good time doing it. Not, this is work, this is fun.
That's great.
Them happy too, because they see, you know, I love to sing, so it's not like work.
Yeah.
You know, I never think of music as work. I always think of it, God, this is going to be fun, you know?
Yeah, it's a pretty unbelievable job to have.
You know, I've always said to people, man, if you find something you love, you don't work. You just have fun every day.
Yeah.
And I have a brother that's a contractor, and he builds things, and he loves it, you know?
Yeah.
So he really enjoys his job, too. So it doesn't have to be music. It can be anything.
That's great.
Passion. And I saw the Beatles when I was 9.
Yeah.
And just couldn't believe it. I was just blown away. That's what I'm going. And my dad was like, you need to finish high school. And I'm like, I don't care about it. But I did finish high school.
That's good. That
barely.
Well, you have the diploma to prove it, though.
The diploma, but I worked out a deal because I was playing 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
When I was.
Wow.
I'd be out till 2 a.m. And I remember the math teacher would say, Jeff, do you know what to solve the problem? And I'd be like, I'd look up like so tired. And she's like, you want to join us? And I said, I'm sorry. I'm so tired. So I talked my teachers. I said, I'm so tired. I don't want to disrupt the class. Can I just come on Fridays and I'll study and take the tests? And they said, well, it's okay, but no matter if you get 100 on the test or not, we're giving you a C, and that's it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's passing.
So I got C's, and I was fine with that.
That's passing.
And I passed, and I had a musician history teacher, and he used to say, Jeff, you might want to sit next to Ray on this one. He's really good at this. When he would announce the grades, he would go, Ray, 84. Jeff, 84. Who knew? I would just copy his. Like, I didn't know. I was terrible in history. I just didn't care. And now I love history.
Yeah.
You know, I want to learn all about it. I love documentaries about Civil War, but back then I was not interested in it.
Yeah, too busy making music till 2 a.m.
Yeah. Learn how to play guitar and sing. I'd play all the time at home.
Yeah. Well, man, what an incredible career you've had. I've really enjoyed getting to hear about it.
Thanks, man. It's been a blast, and you know, I wanted to make it as a singer. You know, I felt like when I moved to California, signed with Quincy, and I worked with David Foster. I mean, I thought, you know, I want a record. And I've had a few record deals, but my first record deal was when I was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
and I got signed to the Spector Records. And I remember the record came out, and it went to number 40 on the charts.
Wow.
And it was on the R&B charts.
Yeah.
Came out as Jeff and Alita, because they wanted it to be a duet, and I had a girl singer in Baltimore that was this black girl who sang beautiful. She was kind of like a Roberta Flack.
Yeah.
And we duet together, and they just wanted it to call it Jeff and Alita. And I couldn't buy the record. It was number 40. No record store had the record. And I'm going like, well, this doesn't make it. And it was Phil Spector's label, and he blew it.
Yeah.
I think we could have had a semi-hit, you know.
Wow, yeah.
Top 40 on back then was pretty good, you know.
Yeah, so did they just not push it like you thought?
Well, if you can't buy the record, they're not going to sell any. And,
yeah.
You know, it went to top 40 on the R&B charts, and then it just kind of fell off because it kind of died out. They probably put a lot of money into the promotion. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it was and I got to come to LA to record that.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of big break. You know?
Yeah. Taste of LA.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Jeff, man, thank you. I don't want to keep you too long, so thank you so much. Man, this has been such a treat to get to talk to you.
Cool, man.